Hello guys, Celtic Reviews here with my first impressions video of my most anticipated game of 2022, and a game that I was really nervous for, especially in today's modern gaming era where everything comes out has been nothing but mediocre buggy releases. We have Dying Light 2 Stay Human. Now, I saw my buddy Death's review of this game and I don't agree, but there is a thing called respectfully disagreeing with somebody, which I don't think a lot of people understand because they always want to attack that dude. So, Def, if you watch this video, this is why I enjoyed the game, and hopefully you'll see the points on why I enjoyed it, and maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. Who knows? Dying Light 2 Stay Human is a fun as hell game to me, and I've been enjoying my time with it. I've been playing it for a week. And if you want to wait for my actual review and you made it this far, my actual review will be out next week when I fully beat the main story. But I'm gonna go over the pros and the cons. So let's get into the things that I love about Dying Light 2. First off, the parkour. I loved the parkour in this game. Paragliding, wall riding is fun as fuck. Traversing the city has never been more fun in a video game like it has in Dying Light 2. I mean, yeah, there's a fast travel option. I have yet to use it out of the 36 hours I put into Dying Light 2 so far. I have yet to use the fast travel. I always parkour wherever I go now because it's that fun. I mean, running around rooftops, you can actually discover new things. I have found so many legendary weapons from just parkouring around in buildings. This game rewards you for doing it. It's smooth, it has more animations, it's just fun to parkour. And they literally just took the Dying Light 1 parkour and just expanded it. And it just feels so fun to parkour around the city. Speaking of exploration, though, let's talk about the open world and how fucking great it is. So I'm already on the second city, where all the tall skyscrapers are, and this game rewards you. It wants you to explore it. Just just jumping on top of a roof, you'll discover this abandoned building full of zombies that has loot in it that you can come back to during the night when the zombies have cleared out the house, that building. Or if you're a brave boy, you can jump in there during the day when all the zombies are in there and fight your way to the loot. This game does not fix you in a position where, oh, you can only enter it at night. You can do whatever you want. This is your playground. Techland has designed this open world to be your playground. And it just feels so good that way. Doing parkour challenges, all the activities in the open world, it just shows that Techland really wanted to deliver an experience that you would be playing over and over and over again. Because I have honestly been doing a lot more exploring than I have main missions. Now I have completed a ton of missions, which I'll get to in a bit. But man, exploring this city is fun, especially going to the dark zones, which since we're talking about exploration and activities, the dark zones they're basically what the zones were in Dying Light 1 where you go in there, there's a ton of zombies and there's a ton of loot. It's a more amped up version of that, where if you go during the night, it's basically the same as Dying Light 1. But if you go during the day, not only do you have to deal with the zombies, but you have to deal with volatiles, big boys, the special effect that they're all in that building. And if you want a challenge, I suggest you go into these dark zones during the day. Trust me, you'll have a blast. The loot in this game is well balanced, it's fun to get, and it's so fun to customize. But I'll get into the customization of the weapons in the combat side. But exploring the city is fun. But you know what? Let's go ahead and jump into the combat. The combat is great, even though it feels a bit floaty. This combat does not have the same amount of impact as Dying Light 1 does. Like, Dying Light 1's combat was weighty, it had punch to it. This one feels a bit floaty, But when you decapitate a zombie, it still feels just as satisfying. When you split a zombie in half, it still feels satisfying. They even improved the human combat, which I'm so grateful for. They now just don't 95% of the time deflect your attacks. You can deflect theirs and do serious damage. Thank God for that. But what makes this combat so fun is the weapons themselves. Having a battle axe made from a half cut off stop sign and a huge ass pipe with fire and electricity elements that I attached to it on it is some of the funnest combat I've ever had in my life. Just running into a building, chopping up zombies with a stop sign. It's just amazing. It's great fucking fun. And that's what this game is in general. It's fun as hell. And that mm, there's a lot more I could say, but I don't want to spoil too much. So far, I do think the mission structure has been pretty good. Not great, but good. I am invested in every mission I do. There has been a few duds so far in terms of the side missions, but in terms of maybe 95% of the side missions I played and all the main missions, I felt like honestly, I feel like most of the side missions do feel like big story missions with how they're set up with dialogue choices and huge quest rewards. I've gotten a legendary weapon from doing a side quest. I mean, that's fucking awesome. Um, but this is where the pros end, and that there was a lot of pros there. But here's where we get into the cons. Unfortunately, the story of Dying Light 2 isn't good. I do like the character of Aiden Codwell. I do think he's an interesting protagonist, but the voice actor is sounding almost the same as Crane's voice actor from Dying Light 1. If you've played this game, maybe you've noticed it, but he sounds almost similar to Crane in a way. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. Um, the story just hasn't really grabbed me yet, and I'm already 36 hours in. Honestly, a lot of the side quest storylines have been way better than most of the mainline story missions and stuff with their storylines. Now, I'm not saying it's terrible. I think it's bland. It's the same kind of blandness to me as the first Dying Light story. And it just kind of feels kind of undercooked in my opinion. I really honestly I think they should have just delayed the game to get a new to punch up the script just a little bit, but it's whatever. Um but yeah, that's a negative. Also, a lot of the characters aren't really that intriguing. Um there's only a few characters I really care about, but the rest I can give two shits less. There was a death in the game, and I was like, eh. Meanwhile, if you ever played the first Dying Light, there's a certain death in a train car where somebody got turned. I'm not gonna spoil it, but you'll know who I'm talking about if you played it. And that was a gut punching moment. And when that character dies in this game, it's just like, eh. I mean that's not a good thing. The only character I really truly and I'm invested in is your protagonist, Aiden Codwell. That's it. I will say some of the physics, for some reason to me, have been kind of toned down. If you look at the physics in Dying Light 1, the ragdoll effects were amazing. They felt weighty and realistic. This game, as you saw, they are sort of realistic, but they just kind of plop down, and it's just like, where's that punch? The combat is still fun. It's just the physics don't feel like it's sort of there, but it's not all the way there. But to me, the biggest hindrance for this game is the performance on Xbox Series S. Now, I've played this on both the Series X and the Series S. The Series S combined can play games like Forza Horizon 5 and Far Cry 6 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla at 60 frames per second. This game can only be played at 1080p 30 frames per second on consoles. Now, to me, I haven't really felt that, but to some people who bought this console, as a good way to get into next gen gaming, this is not the way you want to play Dying Light 2. Play it on PC, PS5, or Series X. Play it at 60 frames per second or above. If you only have a Series S and that's all you can afford, I haven't experienced any frame rate dips, so that's good. So, I mean, there is that. That is a good thing. But it just seems like I do believe Techland could have done this, and they did say it's because of the GPU in the console. As I said, this console can play the likes of Valhalla and fucking Forza Horizon 5 and Far Cry 6, so I have no idea what they're talking about. But for the people who stuck around to the end, this is not a pro. I want to talk about any bugs I've had. Since day one patch was installed, I've come across maybe 3 bugs out of 36 hours. One crash and no frame rate dips. So the performance is really fucking good. But that is basically my first impressions. What do I think of the game? I am really enjoying my time with it. I think it's a great game. I'm just really hoping the story is going to get better when I play it more. So yeah, there's a lot of pros and some cons, but I'm not going to put a score in it until next week when I beat the game. So hopefully you guys enjoy my first impressions. It's great being back to review things, and yeah, I do think this game is worth your time. There's a ton of content here for $60, but I hope you guys. I'll talk to you guys next time.